Ableton Live 12 has officially ended writer's block / beat block. I'm not kidding you, I truly believe that what I'm about to show you in this video right here is going to change the way you make music forever. And I know that this sounds like a typical YouTube over-the-top statement by some dude that's sponsored by the company. It's not the case at all. I'm not that kind of person. I'm not being endorsed or sponsored to say this, but I'm genuinely impressed by this feature. So if you ever sat in front of your DAW feeling uninspired, if you ever struggle to come up with a strong core idea for a new song, then Ableton Live 12 is going to solve that once and for all. So here we are in my very first session with the Ableton Live private beta, and I can already tell you within this one session that the generative MIDI tools in Ableton Live 12 is worth the upgrade to me. Let me show you why. So here's a song idea that I created with those generative MIDI tools and using the new synth Meld as well as the distortion plugin Roar. In my original announcement video, which you can watch here, I said that Meld and Roar are nice to have tools that would not make me want to upgrade alone. But I must admit, now playing around with them, I really like these tools. They are super expressive, especially Roar allows for very creative ways of distortion, especially in mid-side combinations. Leave a comment below if you want me to do a deep dive on that, then I will do this. But overall, this allowed me to come up with very unique sounds relatively quickly. And now let's jump into the generative MIDI tools, because this is the essence of what Live 12 is all about. So let's start with a completely blank MIDI clip. Now let's say you have one of those "I'm just not feeling it" days. We all have them, don't worry about this, but this is where Live 12 becomes insanely powerful. The first thing that I want to show you is the seed mode. So you can find the seed mode here in this little drop-down menu. So you go to seed, and then there are a couple of things you have to define. So first you want to define a global scale. You can do this here. I chose F melodic minor. Now if I'm not feeling super inspired, I have a tendency to go for interesting, weird scales that spark new ideas and different perspectives of looking at music. So melodic minor is an interesting scale. It sounds a little bit, I would say, Eastern, and it has a very special charm to it. You then want to define a couple of parameters here. This is the pitch range, so how far are the notes spaced out? Let me show you. So if I put in a couple of notes here, so this would be relatively low. If I want to go for a bass, I go down here. If I want to go for a lead, I put this up a little bit. And you can define the range. Then the duration of the notes, pretty self-explanatory. So how long can notes be here? The velocity is obviously down here, the intensity of the notes, and then the number of voices. So you can clutter this, you can change the density, make it sparse, make it dense, and you can obviously regenerate things later on by hitting this little button. Now, how do you actually work with this? So my preferred way of working here is to define a pitch range that is relatively narrow, so not super expressive. I actually like to have a couple of shorter ones and a couple of longer ones, so I keep this range quite high. The density, I don't try to populate everything with notes, and for the velocity I mainly stick within the area of higher than 100. And then you can go more expressive or less expressive later on. So let's listen to this. What you then do is you just start playing around basically and see if you can find a sweet spot. This crazy, like it literally gives me something that inspires me to keep working on the track. Now, you might not want to keep this 100% as it is, but you could. What I like to do is I like to save this, basically just create a new version here, go in this mode again, and then transform it once again. I'm now going to show you some of my favorite little hacks and tweaks within this workflow. And before we get there, if you got any value out of this video so far, then consider subscribing to the channel, consider liking this video. It really helps me. It shows me that I'm going in the right direction with the content. And it also helps you because the algorithm will suggest better videos to you, and who doesn't want that? Well, let me show you a couple of other ways to work with these generative MIDI tools. So I select everything, I delete them, I go in here and use this shape mode where you can draw in a shape. You can define the kind of pitch range before you draw in a shape. So let's say I want to start with higher notes and then go a little bit down, then at the end go high again. Here I want to have a little bit more density. I can put the rate to 16th notes, and this tying can tie notes together. And this jitter is just a function of how close does it stick to this shape or how much diversity is allowed, basically. So this one note is something that I don't want in here, for example, so I could just manually edit it and see what this sounds like. Once again, I just duplicate the pattern, delete it, and then I can try something else. So if I'm not a big fan of drawing in my own shapes here, I can just go here to this drop down and, for example, use this one here. Get the idea. This can help inspire new ideas, and there are tons of different shapes here. They are almost working like an arpeggiator feature, but there is a dedicated arpeggiator feature as well. So if you extend these notes, you could also go here to this other tab and go to the arpeggiator, and then it will play those notes in an arpeggiated way. Now with just a few clicks we have generated 3-4 different melodic variations, and that is a great starting point. If you personally want a little bit more help with finishing songs, I have a free gift for you. It's called the Finisher Framework. You can get it at pickyourself.com/framework. The link is also in the description. This will help you with my 3 simple steps to finish at least one great sounding song per month. This is a great goal to have. Get it for free at pickyourself.com/framework. Now for some of you this workflow might sound a little bit too random, and yes, there is an element of randomness to it, but you are the curator. You are the tastemaker that decides what to keep, how to manipulate things, and luckily Ableton Live 12 has a lot of features to help you later on manipulate those first initial sparks. So here's our first snippet again. And let's say you really like it, but you want a couple of variations of this. So let's call this A, and I will just put the other ones down. Then we'll duplicate this, rename it to B, and go in here. Now here's a feature that, in my opinion, is the hidden superpower of Ableton Live 12. It's called Recombine. So let's say you like the MIDI notes that you have here. So the note material is great, but you just feel like it's not cutting it. What you can do with the Recombine setting is you can shift it, like the same note material, in different ways. And you can create endless variations of the same note material until you find something that inspires you to then walk away and create something. So I don't think that any of these clips is perfect yet, but that's the essence of Ableton Live 12. It's an inspiration machine that generates a starting point, and then you take it from there and add your own unique taste to this. So for example, I would lengthen this, make the loop a little bit longer, and then maybe create a call and response phrase on top of this with the existing material. If all of this sounds too sterile, too perfect, one thing you can do is to go, for example, to this time warp tab. You can even deactivate the quantize to make it more interesting. Now, this is also not perfect. You maybe want this to hit on the perfect note again, but this is essentially the little tweaks that you have to do. But this is how you create a little bit of groove. You can also use some of these other modes here, for example, this span mode, where you can accentuate the notes in different ways. And once again, you can go back to the Recombine, shift it around. Let's say we have a very sparse melody like this. What you can now do is you use this connect mode and basically fill in different notes. So you can use super small ones, you can use 8 notes. It brings in one more note here to make it a bit more interesting. Now if you increase the density and like a little bit less tight, then you get more notes. This is basically how far those are spread out, so you can bring the melody together. And another way to add notes is to use this ornament mode here and bring in a couple of notes. So this just splits the notes, adds new ones. instances like so close together, you can almost use this as a sound design tool. And you would never pencil something like this in with your pencil tool. This is just a unique way to spark new and interesting ideas. I'm now curious to hear from you. What do you think about these new features? Leave a comment below and let me know. I'm really active in the comment section. Also, if you want me to do a deep dive on Meld and Roar and do like a sound design masterclass, leave a comment below. I'm more than happy to do this if there's enough interest for this, and I will see you in the next video.